My first time ever coming in contact with St. Andrew's Care Ministry was at the end of my first pregnancy. We had just been given a scary diagnosis as far as how my body was handling the pregnancy, and we were given an early date for induction. So it was a little bit scary because it was my first pregnancy, and also I was worried about the well-being of my child. The first time that I ever really came in contact with the people involved with care ministry here, they actually came to the hospital and would say a prayer with me every so often while I was in labor, which was very comforting. It gave a lot of peace in the situation. And just having that church community, knowing that there are people who are thinking about us and our situation and saying prayers for us, it was just very comforting, and it helped so much. Beyond that, after having both of my kids, they aided us in giving us meals whenever we were at home, kind of recovering and getting used to having one baby and then a year later having two babies. So they helped with that, which was a huge, huge help, because taking care of yourself after having a baby, it's hard enough. So preparing those meals, and also still having the fellowship of having someone come to your home, taking that time out of their schedule to come to your home and to check in and see how you're doing. It's just, there are no words for how amazing that is.
Not all the burden of dealing with all this pressure is on us. It's, where other people are bound to you and they help you with that burden. Our first pregnancy with Vivian, we were so scared, to leave the hospital, so it was kind of weird. I think every first-time parent is like that, but I don't know, can't speak for them. But anyways, yeah, we were afraid to leave the hospital. They're actually letting us leave the hospital with this tiny baby that God has given us. Pastor Mark, he got with us before the pregnancy, actually, and he was saying, "Hey, we're going to start you on the meal train. We're going to get you on the meal train." And we're like, "What's that? We don't actually need this. We're not asking for this." But he was like, "This is what we want to do. This is our church. This is how we want to be, to let others know that you're not alone, and that, we're here to help."
It put into perspective how important it is for us as Christians to take care of each other. And it's just so important to be aware of what's going on in the situations of other people and their lives and what we can do to help, because it's not just us and our individual families. We are a family in Christ, and we are to love one another and help in any way that we can.
Love isn't really that hard whenever you really think about it. I mean, you don't have to have a steak, or speaking in food terms, just an easy meal, or, even a hug, even a simple hug, or anything, really.
My husband, Wayne, was diagnosed with kidney cancer in October of 2010. And they removed the kidney, thought they had all the cancer out, no treatments. And about 2 years later, when he went for his CT scan, they found nodules in his lung. And so they watched it for a little bit, and then they had to go in and they did 2 resections of his lung. It was just a matter of time left for him, because his body was so weak and beaten down that we knew he couldn't get through chemo. He got home from surgery. We put him into rehab, physical, occupational, speech rehab, to try to build him up. And he was there for 2 weeks at Southeast Hospital. He was doing better, but in our mind, we knew his mind was not right. He passed away March 20th, I think it was March 19th, they called us into the hospital late at night and said, you need to come back. It's not good. So we went back to the hospital, spent the night, and then, well, I guess I should back up. While he was in rehab at Southeast, the care team from here came. They read Bible verses, they prayed with us, talked about basically everyday stuff that, you know, just kind of got your mind off of what we were going through at that time. But they were still there praying with us. And Wayne's favorite psalm was Psalm 23. And so I let them know that. And in fact, actually, a week or so before he passed away, he said, yea, though I walk through the shadow of valley of death. And that was the only thing he said, you know. He knew, you know, and I think he was trying for me and my son to pull through, but it got hit other plans. The funeral was on a Saturday, and the next day was First Communion for our grandson, which was tough, you know, but we made it through. And so Pastor Mark had met with me and asked me about the Stephen ministry. Had I considered doing that, meeting with someone? And I said, sure. And he paired me up with the most wonderful person. She's just so caring. When I met her, it was like she's my friend for life. And, you know, in fact, she told me that that her son's going away to college, and she's going to need somebody to lean on because she knows she's going to be losing something, you know. She's always texting me saying, well, how's your day going? How was the weekend? You know, Father's Day, she texted me, which was a tough weekend. There's got to be a reason. It's hard for me right now, other than coming to church and meeting wonderful people here that, you know, I meet with the Lost Stinks group. We've had 2 meetings so far since they started, and it helps because you can talk about grief, you can talk about fun things, you can laugh, you can cry, you can console each other. When we joined here, we came, and then it just we just didn't, you know, and I don't know the reason why. Nothing anybody did or anything. It was just, you know, I have no clue why we did. And it was always a big thing for me, Christmas Eve, the 11 p.m. service. And in fact, this past Christmas, I had asked Wayne, I said, are we going? And he goes, I don't know. Because he was a very emotional guy. Even though he was a big guy, he was a teddy bear. And, you know, he would cry during service, which that's fine, you know, but I think it embarrassed him. So I think with what he was going through, knowing that he was going to make it through, and you know, he said, I don't know. So I didn't know that we were going until about 2 or 3 days before Christmas Eve, you know. And we did come, and my son and wife and grandson, and then her parents lived down here. We all came as a family here. Just reach out to others. I've never been a person to ask for help, but I do. Like I said, I will call somebody up and say, I need to talk. Let's go do something, you know. You just got to reach out. You just can't, you cannot stay at home. You have to get out. And there's days that, there's almost every day that I will get out, go someplace. If I go to Schnucks or anywhere, just to get out of the house. You can't live in your house you've got memories in your house, but that's not how God wants us to live. He wants us to get out there. Just cherish every day you have with your loved ones.
God has cared for His people through this church, through things like the care ministry, and more particularly what has really helped us was the Stephen ministry. How it all started was that Marge and I came here about 18 years ago looking for a home church. We liked the 9:15 service, and we became members, and we really felt at home. Unfortunately, a few years down the road, Margie got very sick. And we're talking about, she's like passed away now about a year ago, but the previous roughly 5 years, she was almost homebound. And these programs have really helped Margie. The care ministry, the Stephen ministry, the visitation, the sacraments. The point I'm getting at is that we were not forgotten. These programs, you hear about them, but I'm here to testify we are on the receiving end of those programs. The bottom line is we were not forgotten, and this church deserves to hear from this. The programs are working, and we're very appreciative of this. I have volunteered of my time now, and I'm already seeing one person. I want to give back to the church and to let these programs hopefully continue. God's blessings upon us. I've seen prayers answered, and I want to give back, and I think this is one way that I can give back that can make a difference.
This is the second time I've been diagnosed with cancer. The day that I received my diagnosis, I was expecting that's most likely what the lump was. So after it was confirmed, the first thing I did was come to the church and ask for help, mainly prayers, because I needed prayers. I was in contact with Pastor Mark from the time I was diagnosed. He kept in contact with me, asking me, what do I need? What do I need? And he told me about Stephen Ministry, the Stephen Ministry program, and asked if that would be helpful. And I said, yes, I would love to be connected with someone. For me, the most important thing is that I have people praying for me. I feel that is the most important thing to get through this, because one, I know that prayer helps, and so that is really the most important part. But also my Stephen minister, it's nice to have someone to complain to. There's just days I feel awful, and my Stephen minister is willing to listen to me. She has also connected me with resources that I may not need right now, but I know that I may need before I finish all of my treatments. Ask for help. It is very important to connect with other people. The most important thing I have done is to connect with people, especially those who have been there, done that. As Pastor Mark often says, they have the t-shirt. And it's just helpful. You don't know what it's like. When you have cancer, if you haven't been through it, there's no way to really explain to someone what it's like. Just like having your first child, going through surgery. So it's important to just reach out and allow people to help you. I definitely rely on him even more than I did before. I could not have made it through the first round of chemo 3 years ago without God. I was in a very dark place for a while where I felt miserable, and I understood how people feel when they're hopeless. But luckily, I knew God was going to be there. And so I wasn't hopeless. I felt terrible, but I wasn't hopeless. And I knew that there were people who also trust in God, who are willing to lift me up during those terrible times. Don't be afraid to reach out. I mean, if you don't want a lot of people to know about your situation, it can be kept confidential. But I am a person who feels that talking about my situation, it helps me to overcome it. And it's just so important to have other people there helping. And so reaching out, using our care ministries, they're there to help us.